What if I told you there are people out there that want to use an experimental drug on the meat supply in the United States of America? And not just here, but in the countries that supply the United States of America. Now, this experimental drug, they do not know if it's going to transfer through the meat, through the milk, through the eggs. They have no idea if whenever we consume the meat, if it will survive our digestive system. However, they want to use this drug still. They do know that whenever they use it on humans, it causes myocarditis, it causes blood clots, it causes spikes in cancer rates. They know this beyond a shadow of a doubt, along with a whole host of other issues. Not only do they know all of that, but they also don't want to have to tell you they've put it in the meat. They don't want to have to label the packaging so that you can actually be informed about what it is you are buying. My name is Justin. This is Built on Faith Homestead or Leaving Egypt, depending on which video platform you prefer to watch your content on. Let's dive a little deeper in this today.
I once was lost, oh, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see.
If you haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about mRNA technology. Before I go any deeper, I do want to ask you to look into something. I want you to look into mRNA technology, and I want you to look at modified RNA technology, and then look to see what they actually gave people and what they're looking at giving animals. It's quite the interesting study if you have a little bit of time to look. Remember, your life may depend on it. Let that decide whether or not you have time. Now, back to what I was saying. They're wanting to use this technology on the meat supply within the United States, on cattle and on swine, and not just in the United States, but in countries that supply the United States. And if you think this idea that, hey, maybe it's going to transfer through the meat, through the milk, through the eggs, whatever it is that we're consuming, and then could we then effectively be mRNA technology in ourselves, right? Like, could that be a thing? If it sounds like a hillbilly tinfoil hat wearing idea, here's what this veterinarian had to say. Dr. R.M. Thornsberry, DVM and chairman of RCAF USA's Animal Health Committee, has expressed his concern about mRNA vaccines in livestock, pointing out that many individuals had adverse reactions and complications, even died from COVID vaccines. He says much more study over many years is needed before the safety of mRNA vaccines will be known. We just cannot say how the modified proteins and lipid shells are impacting people. Thornsberry said, would these things stick around in animals and end up in the meat and milk of the animals? We just don't know. This was in June of 2023. Now, obviously, he's concerned about this as well and says, hey, we kind of need to pump the brakes on this. Also, if you're under the impression that it won't survive the digestive tract of humans, I want to remind you they are trying to raise food to do just that. They're wanting to use plants like lettuce that you can grow in your own backyard that you can eat and be fully technologied. Can I say it that way? Followers of my channel know doohickied, right? So you can be fully doohickied. So the idea that it's just not going to survive the digestive tract is kind of crazy to me to consider. Now, I do want to be clear. Supposedly, there is not any approved mRNA technology for cattle yet. However, there is for swine, which I assume it's being used on swine already. Now, the fact that it's used on swine already, knowing that they're planning on using it for beef, and I'm sure also for chickens and dairy cattle and everything else, right? Knowing that, you would think, man, it would be nice that they would at least label it so I can be informed about what it is that I am buying. But here in the great state that I live in the state of Missouri, they have already shot down the law that somebody had proposed, saying they should at least label the meat so that you understand what it is that you are eating. You can be fully informed. In the medical field, they would call this informed consent. You can actually be 100% informed about what it is you are eating. According to Progressive Farmer, a Missouri bill that would have required all beef derived from Missouri cattle to include labels detailing vaccines cattle received throughout their life, among other stipulations, did not make it out of committee this past April. Similar legislation has been introduced in Arizona and Tennessee and other states to require package labels on products made using so-called gene therapy techniques, said Progressive Farmer. I read from some agriculture website, I'll try to put it in the link down below, why it got shot down in Tennessee. And basically it come down to, well, we don't want to deceive the people, so we don't want to label the packaging. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? We just don't want to deceive the people by telling them exactly what's in the food they're consuming. We would rather hide it because that's less deceiving. Really? Or are you just scared to death people quit buying that food or quit eating that food, or demand changes in the way that our food is handled, or the way that it is grown, or the way that it is raised? Or maybe they would try to get more independent and raise their own food. And that's really what you're afraid of, isn't it? I don't understand for the life of me why anybody with a conscience would vote against labeling food so we know what's in it. Would vote against labeling food so we understand if it's been genetically modified, or if the genes have had some sort of gene therapy, or if it has had some sort of drug that has had some pretty serious and extreme side effects, including death on humans. Why would we not be informed of that? Why would we not want people to at least know, hey, listen, I understand that there are things that we do that take risks every single day. But it's a lot better if you actually know the risk at hand, right? Then you can make a true informed decision. This is why it's important. Try to grow your own food. Try to work with local farmers. Try to work with those around you. Work with friends, work with family. Invest in that some way, somehow, whether it's financially, whether it's time, whatever you can do. Invest in it. It's important that we learn. It's important that we work together. It's important that we begin to get as independent as possible and break away from the big box stores and the chains and those kinds of things as much as possible. And not just that, we all know our food supply is killing us, right? Like, most of us believe that the preservatives, that the pesticides, you know, all of those types of things, like, they're probably causing us some pretty major health issues. So why not begin to try to do better ourselves? Quit waiting on everybody else to do it. Let's get to work. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you guys on the next video.